Welcome to the silence. You are sitting there, days, weeks, or maybe months into no contact, and the quiet is deafening. You are wrestling with the ghosts of the relationship, checking your phone for a notification that never comes, or perhaps terrified that it will come. You are tortured by a single, agonizing image, the narcissist living their best life without you. You imagine them laughing, thriving, and completely unbothered by your absence. You feel like a discarded object, left to rust in a landfill while they drive off into the sunset with someone new. This narrative is playing on a loop in your head, feeding your insecurity and starving your soul. But I am here to tell you that this narrative is a lie. It is a carefully constructed hologram designed to hide a terrifying reality. Behind the mask of indifference, behind the smiling selfies and the "I'm so happy" posts, there is a sound you cannot hear. It is a frequency that only the predator hears when the prey has escaped. It is the silent scream. While you are grieving the loss of a relationship, the narcissist is grieving the loss of their reality. You think you are the one suffering in the dark? No. You are simply healing in the quiet. They are the ones suffocating in a vacuum. The silence you have imposed upon them is not peaceful, it is violent. It is an act of psychological warfare that decimates the fragile ecosystem of their false self. We need to dismantle the myth of the unbothered narcissist. Society tells us these people have no feelings, so they must feel nothing when we leave. This is a dangerous oversimplification. Narcissists have feelings, intense, chaotic, primitive feelings. They feel rage. They feel shame. They feel a bottomless, gnawing envy. When you go no contact, you stop being a source of fuel and become a mirror reflecting their absolute powerlessness. The scream isn't one of heartbreak, it's the shriek of a vampire exposed to sunlight. They are burning, and they are doing everything in their power to make sure you don't see the smoke. You have been gaslit into believing that you were the needy one. You were told you were too much, too emotional, or crazy. You internalized the idea that you needed them to survive. This was a projection. The truth is, they were the parasite attached to your host. A parasite does not mourn the loss of the host, it panics. It starves. The silent scream is the sound of their starvation. It is the panic of an organism realizing that its primary food source has cut off the supply line. They aren't missing your love, they are missing your life force. Why is this topic so critical right now? Because you are likely on the verge of breaking. You are tempted to check on them, to send that closure text, to peek at their social media. You want to know if they care. Listen to me closely. If you break no contact, you silence the scream. You give them the oxygen they are gasping for. You relieve their torture and transfer it back to yourself. To maintain your freedom, you must understand the depth of the hell you have trapped them in. You need to see the invisible damage you are inflicting simply by refusing to speak. The narcissist's world is built on a foundation of external validation. They do not exist without an audience. When you go no contact, you are essentially walking out of the theater in the middle of their monologue. You are leaving the actor alone on a dark stage, shouting lines into the void. There is no applause. There is no booing. There is just nothing. And for a narcissist, nothing is not neutral, nothing is death. The silent scream is the sound of their ego disintegrating in the absence of an observer. They will try to convince the world that they discarded you. They will spin stories of how you were the problem. But in the quiet hours of the night, when the distractions fade and the new supply is asleep, they are haunted. They are haunted by the fact that they couldn't control you. They are haunted by the finality of your silence. Control is their drug, and your silence is the ultimate proof of their sobriety. They are in withdrawal, shaking and sweating psychologically, desperate for a fix that you are withholding. We are going to look behind the curtain of their bravado. We are going to expose the panic attacks, the obsessive stalking, the frantic attempts to replace you, and the deep, crushing shame that triggers the silent scream. You think they are indifferent? Indifference is calm. Indifference is peaceful. There is nothing calm about a narcissist during no contact. They are a chaotic storm of repressed rage and terror, spinning wildly trying to find something to grab onto. Do not let their silence fool you. Their silence is a tactical maneuver, your silence is a boundary. Their silence is a punishment, Your silence is a protection. But underneath their tactical silence, there is a screaming void. They are screaming because they know, deep down, that you have seen behind the mask. You know who they are. And by leaving and staying gone, you have rendered a verdict that they cannot appeal. You are not worth my time. That verdict destroys them. Prepare yourself. We are about to enter the twisted, dark corridor of the narcissist's mind when the lights go out. It is not a pretty place. It is a place of absolute desolation. By the end of this video, you will no longer wonder if they are happy. You will know, with absolute certainty, that they are living in a nightmare of their own making, a nightmare where they scream and no one answers. To understand the silent scream, we must dissect the anatomy of narcissistic supply. To you, a relationship is an exchange of emotion. To a narcissist, it is a metabolic process. You are the external organ that processes their emotions for them. You regulate their self-esteem. You soothe their anxiety. You absorb their shame. When you initiate no contact, it is not an emotional breakup, it is a physiological amputation. They have lost a limb. The scream is the phantom pain of a missing piece of their psychological structure. They are bleeding out, and they don't know how to suture the wound. We must confront the failure of object constancy. This is a developmental milestone that narcissists missed. In a healthy brain, we can hold the image of a loved one in our mind and feel connected even when they are not present. The narcissist cannot do this. Out of sight, out of mind, until the hunger hits. When you are gone, they cannot summon a comforting image of you. They are left with a terrifying blankness. The silent scream is the horror of the void. It is the realization that without you there to reflect them, they are rapidly fading into non-existence. The grandiosity gap widens to an abyss. The narcissist lives in a gap between their false self, the God, and their true self, the shameful child. You were the bridge that spanned that gap. Your adoration validated the God. Your tolerance protected the child. Without you, the bridge collapses. They fall into the abyss. The silent scream is the sound of them hitting the bottom of their own shame. They are forced to confront the pathetic reality of who they are without your prop-up, and that reality is intolerable. Panic sets in because of the loss of control. Control is the narcissist's defense against chaos. They need to control your perception, your emotions, and your actions to feel safe. No contact is the ultimate loss of control. It is a locked door they cannot kick down. It is a blocked number they cannot bypass. This impotence triggers a primal rage. They are used to being the puppet master. When the puppet cuts its own strings and walks away, the master is revealed to be a powerless fool holding on to nothing. The concept of narcissistic injury explodes into narcissistic mortification. An injury is a scratch on the ego. Mortification is a fatal wound. Your refusal to engage is the ultimate insult. It says, you are irrelevant. To a narcissist who believes they are the center of the universe, irrelevance is a fate worse than death. The silent scream is the agonizing dissonance between their entitlement, I am important, and the reality, I am being ignored. It breaks their brain. They experience a collapse of the shared fantasy. You and the narcissist built a shared delusion, a world where they were perfect and you were lucky to have them. No contact shatters this fantasy. It forces the real world to intrude. In the real world, people leave abusers. In the real world, actions have consequences. The narcissist hates the real world. The silent scream is their refusal to accept reality, a tantrum of epic proportions happening inside a sealed room. We must analyze the paranoid spiral. Without your feedback, they begin to project their own malice onto you. They imagine you are out there smearing them, laughing at them, or exposing their secrets. Because they would do this to you, they assume you are doing it to them. The silent scream is fueled by paranoia. They are looking over their shoulder, waiting for the blow to land, terrified of the unknown power you now wield. Your silence is a blank canvas, and they are painting their worst nightmares on it. The resource scarcity triggers survival panic. Narcissists operate with a scarcity mindset. They hoard people like objects. Losing a primary source of supply like you is a bankruptcy event. They feel poor. They feel depleted. They look at the new supply, if they have one, and realize it takes time to groom them to your level of efficiency. The silent scream is the hunger pang of a predator who let the biggest meal escape and is now forced to scavenge for scraps. The shame-rage cycle spins out of control. Shame is the root of narcissism. They spend their lives running from it. Your rejection brings the shame to the surface. To avoid feeling the shame, they convert it instantly into rage. But with no contact, they have nowhere to direct that rage. You aren't there to yell at. You aren't there to punish. The rage ricochets back onto them. The silent scream is the sound of them being consumed by their own toxicity because they have no trash can to dump it in. Ultimately, the psychological breakdown reveals that they are identityless. They are chameleons who take on the colors of their environment. Without you, they lose a significant part of their identity. They don't know who they are without your reaction. They are drifting in space, untethered. The silent scream is the existential terror of a ghost realizing it has no one to haunt. The dramatic turning point arrives when the silence stretches from days into weeks. This is the realization phase. Initially, the narcissist was arrogant. They told themselves, "She'll be back. He always caves." They treated your silence as a tantrum they could wait out. But as the timeline extends, the arrogance cracks. The silence becomes heavy. It becomes a physical weight. The silent scream shifts from a noise of annoyance to a noise of genuine dread. They realize the game has changed, and they don't know the new rules. This triggers the hovering panic. You might see the signs. A missed call from a private number. A friend request from a fake profile. A sudden appearance at a place you frequent. These aren't acts of love, they are sonar pings. They are sending out signals to see if anything bounces back. When you maintain no contact and offer no reflection, the silent scream intensifies. It becomes a siren. Why isn't it working? Why aren't they responding? The failure of their manipulation tactics is a psychological shock. The internal narrative begins to fracture. They start to rewrite history frantically to soothe the scream. I didn't want them anyway. They were crazy. I won. They repeat these mantras, but the silence mocks them. If they won, why do they feel so empty? If they didn't want you, why are they stalking your Instagram? The cognitive dissonance is painful. They are fighting a war against the truth, and the truth is winning. You might notice the new supply is being paraded aggressively. This is a direct response to the silent scream. They are trying to use the new partner as a megaphone to drown out the noise in their head. Look how happy I am, they scream with their posts. But looking closely, the smile doesn't reach their eyes. The timing is suspicious. The intensity is forced. They are performing happiness for an audience of one, you, and you aren't watching. This performance exhausts them. The turning point reveals the obsessive rumination. They cannot stop thinking about you. Not because they love you, but because you are the puzzle piece that doesn't fit. Narcissists obsess over what they cannot control. Your autonomy is an insult. They replay the breakup, the last conversation, the final moments, looking for the loophole, the weakness. They are stuck in a loop. The silent scream is the sound of a record skipping, playing the same moment of rejection over and over again. They begin to experience somatic symptoms. The psychological stress manifests physically. Insomnia, weight loss or gain, skin issues, erratic energy. The body keeps the score even when the narcissist lies. The silent scream is now vibrating in their cells. They feel physically ill without the regulation you provided. They are going through withdrawal, and it hurts. The comparisons start. They compare everyone to you. The new supply might be compliant, but they are boring. They don't have your spark, your status, or your history. The narcissist resents the new supply for not being you, and resents you for not being there. They are trapped in a state of chronic dissatisfaction. The silent scream is a complaint, nothing is good enough. The smear campaign reaches a fever pitch, then falters. They talk about you to anyone who will listen. They try to provoke a reaction through third parties. But when you remain silent, when you don't defend yourself, the smear campaign loses its energy. It looks like a one-sided obsession. People start to wonder, why is he still talking about her? The narcissist realizes they are shouting into a vacuum. The silent scream becomes a scream of frustration as their weapon fails to fire. The ghost of you becomes their constant companion. You are more present in their mind now than you were when you were together. Your absence has given you a mythic status. You are the one that got away, the unconquerable. This wounds their pride deeply. They hate you for having the power to haunt them. The silent scream is a mixture of hatred and reverence for the only person strong enough to defeat them. The turning point forces them to face the existential dead end. They realize that no matter what they do, they cannot force you to engage. They are impotent. This realization is the climax of the silent scream. It is the moment the monster realizes it is locked in the cage, and the key is on the other side of the door, out of reach forever. Following the realization comes the narcissistic collapse. This is not a quiet sadness, it is a structural failure of the personality. The mask falls off completely. The narcissist becomes erratic, impulsive, and dangerous to themselves and others. The silent scream breaks through the surface. They might have public meltdowns, rage at waiters, or engage in reckless driving. The internal chaos can no longer be contained. They are a building imploding in slow motion. The mask of sanity rots. Without your positive energy to mirror, they begin to mirror their own darkness. They look darker, colder, more reptilian. The charm that seduced you evaporates. People around them start to see the cruelty you lived with. They lose friends, jobs, or opportunities because they can't keep the act up. The energy required to scream silently depletes the energy needed to fake normalcy. Depression sets in, but not normal depression. This is an agitated, angry, victim-blaming depression. They wallow in self-pity. Why does this always happen to me? Everyone betrays me. They lie in bed, paralyzed by the silent scream, nursing their wounds, plotting revenge that they are too weak to execute. It is a pit of despair with no bottom. They seek low-grade supply. Desperate to silence the scream, they lower their standards. They engage with people they previously thought were beneath them. They haunt dive bars, shady internet forums, or toxic exes from decades ago. They are dumpster diving for attention. Anything to numb the pain of your absence. This degradation fuels their shame, which makes the scream louder. Addiction escalation is common. Alcohol, drugs, porn, gambling, shopping. They need a dopamine hit to replace the oxytocin of the relationship. They binge. They lose control. The silent scream drives them to destroy their bodies and their bank accounts. They are trying to fill a spiritual hole with material trash. The paranoid isolation. They withdraw from the world because the world has become a hostile place without your protection. They sit alone in the dark, scrolling, stalking, fuming. They trust no one. They believe everyone is laughing at them. The silent scream echoes off the walls of their isolation chamber. They are the king of a kingdom of dust. The frozen rage. Sometimes the collapse isn't loud, it's ice cold. They become catatonic with rage. They stare at the wall for hours, replaying their grievances. This is the silent scream at its most dangerous frequency. It is a brooding, festering hatred that poisons their own blood. They are drinking the poison and waiting for you to die. The zombie state. They go through the motions of life, work, eat, sleep, but the lights are off. They are the walking dead. They have no joy, no passion, no connection. They are merely existing to feed the false self, but the false self is starving. The silent scream is a constant, low-level hum of misery that soundtracks their empty life. They experience social cannibalism. In their desperation, they turn on the people still loyal to them. They abuse their family, their new supply, their friends. They drain everyone dry trying to stop the scream. Eventually, everyone leaves. They are left alone with the echo of their own abuse. The ultimate consequence is irrelevance. You move on. You heal. You forget. They stay stuck. They are frozen in the moment of the discard, forever reliving the injury. The silent scream becomes their eulogy. They lived a life of noise to avoid the silence, and now, the silence has consumed them. So, what is the final truth you need to internalize to walk away for good? It is this: the silent scream is not your problem to fix. It is the sound of justice. It is the natural consequence of a life lived without empathy. For years, you screamed, and they didn't listen. Now, the universe has turned the tables. They are screaming, and you are finally deaf to their noise. You must understand that you cannot save them from the scream. You were the buffer. You absorbed the sound for them. By leaving, you simply stepped out of the way and let the sound hit its intended target. Do not feel guilty for allowing gravity to work. Do not feel guilty for letting a grown adult face the reality of their own soul. The silent scream proves that you were never insignificant. You were the structure that held them up. You were the sun that warmed their cold earth. The magnitude of their collapse is the measure of your value. But that value belongs to you now. Take that power, that light, that structure, and build a life for yourself. Do not break no contact. If you reach out, you become the pressure relief valve. You let the steam out. You silence the scream and allow them to reset the abuse cycle. Let them sit in the pressure cooker. Let them face the heat. It is the only thing that might, just might, force them to look in the mirror, though they likely never will. You are free. The silence in your house is peace. The silence in their house is terror. Learn to love the difference. Embrace the quiet. In that quiet, you will find your own voice again. A voice that was drowned out by their demands for so long. Stop looking for visible signs of their suffering. You may never see it. They will wear the mask until it rots off their face. But now you have this secret knowledge. You know what is happening behind the eyes. You know the scream is there. That knowledge is your closure. You don't need them to admit it. The psychology guarantees it. Walk into your future without looking back at the burning building. You didn't start the fire. You just stopped being the water. Let it burn. Let the ashes of the relationship fertilize the soil of your new life. Stand tall in your decision. Every day of no contact is a victory. Every day you choose yourself is a defeat for the narcissist. You are winning the war simply by refusing to fight. You are the champion of your own reality. Imagine the narcissist in a glass box, screaming, pounding on the walls. Now, imagine yourself turning off the lights in that room and walking out the door. You can't hear them anymore. They are a memory. They are a ghost. The silent scream is the sound of a monster starving in the dark. Let them starve. You have a feast of life waiting for you in the light. Go eat.